Hello everyone and welcome back to Exam Ignite YouTube channel. This is 5th semester's subject Environmental Studies. This code is BESK508 with a credit of 2, and for this we are discussing the module 1 questions in this video. Module 1 includes ecosystem and sustainability with the structure and function of ecosystem, which includes forest, desert, wetlands, rivers, oceanic and lake. Sustainability, 7 SDGs, history, targets, implementation, capacity development. So we'll be go through the MCQs related to these topics. Ecosystem. The term environment has been derived from the French word which means to encircle or surround, that is, environ. The object of environmental studies education is raise the conscious about the environmental conditions, to teach environmental approach, behavior, create an environmental ethic. Which of the following conceptual spheres of the environment is having the least storage capacity for matter? Atmosphere. Which of the following components of the environment are effective transporters of matter? Atmosphere and hydrosphere. Biosphere is a thin shell of organic matter on the surface of the earth comprising of all living things. Atmosphere consists of 78% nitrogen and 21% oxygen by volume. Which of the following is a biotic component of an ecosystem? Fungi. In an ecosystem, the flow of energy is unidirectional. Which pyramid is always upright? Energy. In complex ecosystem, the degree of species diversity is high. The organisms who directly feed on the producers are called herbivores. The sequence of eating and being eaten in an ecosystem is called food chain. Which of the following is a producer in an ecosystem? So the plants and bacteria are capable of producing their own food. Which of the following statements is false? Energy is recycled in an ecosystem. The largest reservoir of nitrogen in our planet is atmosphere. In aquatic ecosystem, phytoplankton can be considered as producer. The basic requirement of human being are provided by nature. The environment is life support system that includes air, water, land. In an ecosystem, biological cycle of materials is maintained by producers, consumers, decomposers. Organisms which feed directly or indirectly on the producers are called consumers. The primary producers in an ecosystem are the chlorophyll containing trees and plants. A biotic component includes all of this. Which of the following statement is true? Green plants are self-nourishing. Primary consumers is herbivores. A predator is an animal that feeds upon the another animal. Access to food is mainly determined by household income. The word environment is derived from the French. Which among the following is a climatic factor? Pressure, humidity, temperature. The major atmospheric gas layer in the stratosphere is ozone. Which atmospheric sphere is closest to the Earth's surface? Troposphere. Which of the following is a terrestrial ecosystem? Forest, grassland, desert, all of this. Ecological pyramids are studies of pyramids of numbers, pyramids of mass, pyramid of energy. The World Environmental Day is on 5th June. Factors responsible for a balanced ecosystem are balance between predator-prey, vegetation, herbivores and carnivores, balance between the competition species and biotic factors. Which of the following is observed by green plants from the atmosphere? Carbon dioxide. Habitat refers to physical condition of the place where organism live, chemical condition of the place where organism live, both A and B. A food web consists of interlocking the food chain. Which of the following statement is true? Energy can be converted from one form to another, but some percentage is lost into the environment. Which of the following condition must be fulfilled to ensure the food security? So food must be available, each person must have access to it, food utilized or consumed must fulfill nutritional requirements. The word ecology is proposed by Ernst Haeckel. How many parts are there in the forest ecosystem? 2. On which factors forest type is mainly dependent? Abiotic. Where can we find the coniferous forest in India? In the Himalayan region. Why most of the sunlight does not penetrate to the ground in the evergreen forest? Because the trees overlap with each other. Which state in India has the maximum percentage of its area covered by forest? Madhya Pradesh. Where can we find the thorn forest in India? Semi-arid region. What is considered as lung of nature? Trees. How erosion controlled by forest by reducing the rainfall's force on the soil surface. How forest increase the atmosphere's humidity by transpiration. Which of the following type of forest improvement important for the watersheds? Tropical montane forest. How the tropical rainforest get the name? Due to heavy rain. Where can we find the most feared spider in the world? In the tropical rainforest. Plants use carbon dioxide gas for photosynthesis. Deforestation means destruction of forest. What percentage of the geographical area of the country should be under forest? 33%. During the photosynthesis, trees produce oxygen. Forests prevent soil erosion by binding the soil particles in their roots. Forest rich area in Karnataka is found in the Western Ghats. Forests are referred to as the Earth's lung. In the grassland ecosystem, what is the predominant vegetation in the grassland ecosystem? It is grass. In grassland area, how much amount of rainfall is required? Low rainfall. How humans use grassland to feed livestock? Which of the following ecosystem shows varieties in vegetation? Grassland ecosystem, where we find the tracts of tall elephant grass in the terrial belt. What is the type of grassland ecosystem which is found at the Western India, Central India, and the Deccan region? It is the semi-arid plains. Which of the following consists of patches of on the hill slopes? The Shola grassland. Which ecosystem are grazing areas of many rural communities? Grassland. Water stored to feed the cattle if there is no grass during the summer to cattle. So fodder, it means dried hay or straw that is used to feed the other livestock. How grassland is converted into flat steppes? By overgrazing. How many percentage of grassland covered in terms of percentage pastures, that is land area left unploughed for long period and used for growing grass in India, is 3.7%. Why rotational grazing pattern established? To preserve the grassland ecosystem. The weather condition in temperate grassland is hot in summer. The temperate grassland in Africa are known as wheat. The temperature grassland in northern Europe are known as steppes. In the South America, it is known as swamps, and then the North America, it is known as prairies. Then desert ecosystem. Which of the following place we can find the cold deserts in Himalaya? What kind of climate we can find in the Thar desert? Dry. Why? Where can we find the bubble tree in the semi-arid ecosystem? Why Run of Kutch attracts the aquatic birds in the monsoon season? Because the desert land is converted to salt marshes. Which is one only breeding colony of the flamingos in India? The Green Run of Kutch. The Great Run of Kutch. For what purpose areas of scanty vegetation is used? For grazing. What makes desert region to become highly unproductive? Salinity. How can desert ecosystem be conserved? By minimizing the human activity. Which of the following tribe protected trees from several generations in Rajasthan? Bishnoi. Where we can see Indira Gandhi Canal in Rajasthan. Which kind of soil we can found on the surface of the Thar desert? It is Aeolian. Which is the biggest desert in the world, including both hot and cold deserts? It is in Antarctica. Aquatic ecosystem. Here, how many types of aquatic ecosystem are there? Two types, where plants and animals live in the ecosystem in the water. What made ecosystems to build their ecosystem in aquatic is due to evolution. Where can we find both running water as well as a stagnant water? In the freshwater ecosystems. In which of the following we can fluctuations in the water level dramatically in different season? In the wetlands. Which is the largest ecosystem on the earth? Is oceans. So where can we see coral reefs? In the shallow tropical seas. Which of the following is among the world's most productive ecosystem in terms of biomass production? It is the brackish water ecosystem. In this the water that is salter than the fresh water, but not salty as the seawater. Which is the simplest aquatic ecosystem? Is pond. Which ecosystem is known as grained permanent pond? That is lake ecosystem. How many oceans contribute the marine ecosystem around the peninsular India? Three. Beach is classified into which ecosystem? Seashore ecosystem. The bottom area where production is less than the respiration in the pond ecosystem is termed as profundal zone. The upper part of the aquatic ecosystem consists of planktons. Which of the following lake zones has phytoplanktons in abundance? In the limnetic zone, eutrophic lakes are characterized by the high nutrients, high productivity. Organisms which are predominantly found living on, in, or near the bed sediments or rivers or lakes are known as benthic. So next, Biodiversity. Here, how many biogeographical does India have? 10. Mango has the maximum genetic diversity in India. Western Ghats is one of the most prevalent hotspots of the biodiversity in India. Clay soil is only one of the least porous soils. Then seed bank is an example of ex situ conservation. Lesser intersignificant competition is not generally seen in the biodiversity hotspots. Extinction occurs when the death of the last individual in a species occur. Endemic species is defined as an ecological state of species being unique to a specific geographical location. 67% of the hill and 33% for plain in the forest cover to be maintained as per the National Forest Policy 1988. Species richness is defined as the number of species represented in a specific region, landscape, or an ecological community. Global warming can significantly be controlled by reducing the fossil fuel consumption. Species is a basic unit of classification and a taxonomic rank. Which of the following animals is now extinct? Tasmanian tiger. When a species is at the risk of extinction soon, it is said to be threatened. Considering the biodiversity, animals can be classified as fauna. The causes of extinction include deforestation, overhunting, and habitat loss. The extinction of many animals from the ecosystem harms its stability. The name of the family to which humans belong is Hominidae. Then MAP program stands for Man and Biosphere. Red data block contains data of threatened species. IUCN International Union for Conservation of Nature and Natural Resources headquarters is at the Morges, Switzerland. IUCN is also called as World Conservation Union. Biodiversity increases towards the equator. Blue whale is placed under the endangered. Biodiversity is of important as it offers stability of ecosystems. Which of the following is not an in situ conservation method? So in situ means national parks, biosphere reserves, sanctuaries, but zoo is an ex situ conservation. The area of national parks range between 0.04 to 3162 kilometers. Hotspot areas have high density of biodiversity. Which of the following countries has the highest biodiversity? Brazil. What is a common lantana Equoria and the African catfish? Here, all the species are neither threatened nor the indigenous species of India. Which of the following is not a major characteristic feature of biodiversity hotspot? Destruction of habitat. Where among the following will you find the pitcher plant? It is rainforest of northeast India. Which of the following is not a cause for loss of biodiversity? Keeping animals in zoological park. The activities of cultivation of land, timber, harvesting is permitted in the sanctuaries. Which is an advantage of ex situ conservation? Genetic process for breeding or long life. The loss in the biodiversity is not attributed to use of sustainable products. Which of the following is not an invasive alien species in the Indian context? Cynodon. Then the one horned rhinoceros is specific to which of the following sanctuary? It is Kaziranga. Which of the following is an endangered plant species of India? All of the above. The extension of passenger pigeon was due to the overexploitation by humans. Which of the following is correct? African catfish is not threatened to indigenous catfish. Which of the following group of plants exhibit more species diversity? Fungi. Which of the following below mentioned regions exhibit less seasonal variations? Tropics. The historic convention on the biological diversity held in Rio de Janeiro in 1992 is known as the Earth Summit. With what is the common two techniques in vitro fertilization, cryopreservation, and the tissue culture? Here, all are ex situ conservation methods. All are in situ conservation efforts except the zoo. Conservation within the natural habitat is in situ conservation. Hotspots at the region of endemism. Which of the following region has a maximum diversity? Coral reefs. Approximately 50% of the total world species are present on the tropical rainforest. Ex situ conservation includes zoo, botanical garden, then germplasm bank. So all of these. Amongst the animal groups given below, which one has the highest percentage of the endangered species? Amphibians. Among the ecosystem mentioned below, where can one find the maximum biodiversity? In the coral reefs. Which of the following forest is known as the lung of plant earth? Amazon rainforest. The active chemical drug respine is obtained from the Rhofolia. The loss in biodiversity is not attributed to use of sustainable products. In how many ways does the conservation of biodiversity work? In two ways. Endemic species are species localized in a specific region. The term environment has been derived from the French word that is environ. Which of the following conceptual spheres of the environment is having the least storage capacity for matter? Biosphere. Which of the following components of the environment are effective transporters of matter? Atmosphere and hydrosphere. Biosphere, it is a thin shell of organic matter on the surface of the earth comprising of all the living things. Atmosphere consists of 79% of oxygen and 21% of 79% of nitrogen and 21% of oxygen by volume. Which of the following is a biotic component of an ecosystem? Fungi. In an ecosystem, the flow of energy is unidirectional. Which pyramid is always right? Energy. In a complex ecosystem, the degree of species diversity is high. Organisms who directly feed on the producers are called herbivores. The sequence of eating and being eaten in an ecosystem is food chain. Which of the following is a producer in an ecosystem? Plant and bacteria are capable of producing their food. Which of the following statements is false? So energy is recycled in an ecosystem. The largest reservoir of nitrogen in our planet is atmosphere. In the ecosystem, phytoplankton can be considered as producer. The basic requirement of human beings are provided by nature. Environment is a life support that includes all of the above. In an ecosystem, the biological cycling of material is maintained by all of the above. The organism which feeds directly or indirectly on producers are called consumers. The primary producers in a forest ecosystem are chlorophyll containing trees and plants. A biotic component includes soil, temperature, water. Which of the following is true? Green plants are self-nourishing. Primary consumer is herbivores. A predator is an animal that feeds upon another animal. The word environment is from the French. Which one among the following is a climate factor? Pressure, humidity, temperature. Which of the following is a terrestrial ecosystem? All of the above: forest, grassland, and desert. World Environmental Day is celebrated on 5th June. Factors responsible for a balanced ecosystem are all of the above. Which of the following is absorbed by the green plants from the atmosphere? Carbon dioxide. Habitat refers to both physical condition of the place where organisms live and the chemical condition of the place where organisms live. A food web consists of interlocking food chains. Which of the following are producers, plants, and bacteria? Which of the following is in an ecosystem? All. Environment means surrounding biotic plus abiotic components in which the organisms live. Which of the following is not the meaning of ecosystem? A small unit that can be self-sufficient. Which of the following is not an example for terrestrial ecosystem? Water. The factors responsible for a stable ecosystem are balance between all of the above. Important physical factors responsible for a good habitat of the organism are all of the above. Which of the following is not a prominent chemical responsible for the good habitat? It is SO2. Dash is termed as a life zone of the earth. Biosphere. An ecosystem is a region where living organisms interact with the environment. The term ecosystem was first coined by the A.G. Tansley. The two major components of the ecosystem are biotic and abiotic. Biotic components include all the living organisms. Food chain are divided into three basic categories. The transfer of energy and nutrients from one feeding group of the organism to another is food chain. Which of the following place we can find the cold deserts in the Himalaya? What kind of climate we find in the Thar desert is dry? Where can we find the bubble tree in the semi-arid ecosystem? The run of Kutch attracts the aquatic birds in the monsoon region because the desert is converted into salt marsh. What makes the desert region to become highly unproductive is salinity. How can desert ecosystem be conserved? By minimizing the human activity. Which of the following tribe is protected in the several generations in Rajasthan is Bishnoi, where we can say the Indira Gandhi Canal in the Rajasthan. Which kind of soil we can found on the surface of the Thar desert is Aeolian. Which is the biggest desert in the world, including both hot and cold deserts in Antarctica? How many parts are there in the forest ecosystem? Two. On which factor forest type is mainly dependent in abiotic? Where can we find the coniferous forest in India in the Himalayan region? Why most of the sunlight does not penetrate to the ground in the evergreen forest? Because of the trees overlap with each other. Which state in India has a maximum percentage of its area covered by forest? Madhya Pradesh. Where can we find the thorn forest in India? Semi-arid regions. How forests increase the atmosphere's humidity? By transpiration. Which of the following types of trees are important for watersheds? That is tropical montana forest. How are the tropical rainforest gets its name? Due to the heavy rain. How many types of aquatic ecosystem are there too? Where the plants and animals live in the ecosystem in water? What made organisms to build ecosystem in aquatic evolution? Where we can find both running water as well as stagnant water in the freshwater ecosystem? Which of the following is the largest ecosystem on the earth? Ocean. Which of the following is among the world's most productive ecosystem in terms of biomass production? Brackish water ecosystem. Which is the simplest aquatic ecosystem is pond? Which ecosystem is known as giant permanent pond lake ecosystem? How many oceans constitute the marine ecosystem around the peninsular India? It is three. The biodiversity can be classified into many types. How many types? Three types. The biodiversity is of important as it offers the stability of the ecosystem. The loss in the biodiversity is not attributed to use of the sustainable products. In how many ways does the conservation of biodiversity work? In two ways. Which one of the following is not an in situ conservation method? Zoo. Which is an advantage of ex situ conservation? Genetic process for breeding or long life. Hotspot areas have high density of biodiversity. What is the cause of discoloration in the freshwater and algae bloom? The great smog in 1952 caused in which city? In the London. Which forest can we can see deforestation to larger extent? In the Amazon forest. The biggest driver of deforestation is agriculture. The best way to reproduce the best way to reduce deforestation is by clear more area of the plants to grow trees. Due to deforestation, how much field worth of trees is lost per minute? 36 football. The rainforest plant in most often cleared for human activities. The main cause of wildfire is human activity. Which nation is most affected by deforestation? Honduras. Which type of farming cause more amount of deforestation? Sustains farming. Which layer of the atmosphere is known as the sphere of weather? Where most weather activities takes place is troposphere. Which of the following is approximate percentage of fresh water available on Earth is 3%. In an ecosystem, which organisms are responsible for decomposing mineral salts in soil into elements cycled back into plants decomposes? Identify the correct sequence: grass, grasshopper, mouse, snake, and hawk. This is a simple food chain. So, which ecological period always displays energy losses as the movement goes towards the apex pyramid of energy? The zone of lake that receives sunlight and extends down to the depth where rooted plants stop growing is called the littoral zone. An endemic species refers to species found only in particular area. Which of the following represents the in situ conservation national park? According to the text, the percentage of the world's net primary production of the marine ecosystem generate is 32%. The transfer of energy from one tropical level to the next tropical flows the 10% law. What happens to the remaining 90%? It is lost as heat or used for life processes. Please do like, share, and subscribe to Exam Ignite for the further videos. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.